out the paperwork on this. This video is going to involve two separate amplifiers. Enclosed, you will find two amps. One Joker 1x4 and a Texas Star DX 1200 or 1600V 2x8. What I'd like to have done is a Texas Star fixed in the BBI style with the transistors out of the Joker amplifier. That if there are not enough Toshibas in the Joker, and I'm literally reading this just how it's written. Not enough Toshibas in the Joker amplifier to fix the Texas Star. I'll need all new HGs installed and fix the Joker with the remaining Toshibas. If there's not enough Toshibas remaining to fix the Joker, the flybacks in the Joker run hot. That doesn't make any sense. It sentences a run on in it. Okay, so this is from my friend Mr. J. I get this text the other day. He goes, "Man, I sent you 2 amps a while back. Just keep them." And I said, "I'm not keeping your equipment." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, He explained to me what he's got going on with him health-wise, and I simply responded to him with, "No." Everybody forgets I have the option to say no. I don't care anything about these things. These amps don't mean anything to me, these little things. I have more equipment than 10 people combined. I don't care about these amps. They're here because you care about them, and it's my job to fix them. Now, this guy has got some pretty serious medical issues going on right now. And so I went back and I told him in no uncertain terms that I am not interested in keeping either one of these. I don't want them. They don't need to be donated to me. I don't care. I don't want them. So he goes, "Well, use the transistors out of the Joker to fix the Texas Star, keep the Joker for parts, and sell the Texas Star." And I'm like, "So you don't want any of the equipment back?" He's like, "No." I said, "Well, then how do you want your money?" And he gave me a PayPal address. This guy's got medical issues to the point where he can no longer talk. So therefore, there's no reason for him to have these things. I don't want either one of these. Although this is the second example of this gentleman's craftsmanship I have ever seen. This is a Peekaboo Joker built. You know Peekaboo from Mall Droppers? This is one of his pieces of equipment. The guy's saying it's not working properly. Well, I look inside of here and I go, okay. And then I look inside of here and I go, also, okay. So my plan here is we're going to fix the Texas Star. Somebody out there in Radio Land is going to get themselves a badass Texas Star, and we're going to go through the Joker box and make sure it's working properly, and we're going to get it up and running and sell it as well. And then I'm going to send all the money minus the cost of the repair and then the commission of the sales on to the guy that owns this equipment. That way the money can go get used for other things. Everything's above board. We're doing it transparently here on the YouTube Gargler. And there's 2 more pieces of equipment out there for people to use. So I'm just going to say that what we see going on up here is a mirror of what we have going on back here. Let's zoom in here a little bit. Okay. Let's slowly take that in. And then we'll scan over here to these other 2 Toshibas. And we'll slowly scan over here to these 2 Toshibas again. Let's crop it so they're both in frame. This box is full of fake Toshibas. That's fake as frig, man. The print's wrong, the coloring's wrong, the lot number is the biggest giveaway. This is a high-end fake component that is bought from, I'm not going to say where it's bought from. Anyhow, these are about $30 a piece copies. Fairly decent transistor in its own standing, but they don't mix with regular Toshibas like this here. The reason I say it's a mirror is because now let's go look at the back transistors. And I'll show you what I mean. God, whoever rebuilt this thing, they had some monster solder skills. I don't know why they didn't use the right parts, because these things don't intermix, man. But it is what it is. Does that look familiar to you guys? Yeah, so this thing's obviously been burned up once already in its life. Obviously, these two combiners are burned off the face of the earth. This isn't the way they did their balancing resistor at all. But that's okay. It's technically correct. The downside is we've got two real Toshibas here, two real Toshibas here, two fake Toshibas here, two fake Toshibas here. I'm not going to even bother running it. And the other reason why I'm not going to bother running it is because of this resistor right here. This is a 1.8 ohm resistor. Look at how dark it is. It reads 1.2 ohms at the moment. That's with no load on it, out of circuit, 1.2 ohms. Here is the same resistor here, and then the same resistor here, and the same resistor here. This one on this pallet is completely fried. So usually when that resistor, what causes that resistor to go bad is we pop a pill. We pop the pill, people will come in and replace the 10 ohmers, they'll replace the transistors, and they won't change this one resistor. And then as soon as you key it, click, 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 boom, blows it up. We're going to pull all the transistors out of this amp. I'm going to go another way with this, like I said. We're going to pull all the transistors out of this amp. I'm going to replace them with HG 16D08s. We're going to test all of these parts. Even these fake ones have some value because there's so many people using them now that I got to keep those around for repairs. But I have an inkling and a feeling that maybe a couple of these Toshibas are good. If not, doesn't really matter. I want to put HGs back in this thing with parts that we can currently get, which actually increases the value of this box. And we're going to come over and we're going to make sure that this is right and thoroughly test this and look at this guy's craftsmanship, being that this is the second example of it I've ever seen ever in almost 6,000 plus repairs at this point. I'm going up 300 plus per year. This is the second one. The second one ever. Legit Peekaboo built box, which is nice. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not, like, I wouldn't sell my hind teeth to have one of these. They're just, are what they are, a lot of handmade Dremel etched parts, which we'll go over this in fine detail when we get there. But he did send inside of here 2 more Toshibas that are tested in all disclosure. And the heatsink that's inside this cabinet is just phenomenally thick. But we'll go over that here in a minute. Second example ever. Okay, let's pull these pills out and let's check them here all real quick. Well, let's see what we got. These are the 4 out of the front. These are the 4 out of the back. These are the fake ones. These are real ones. These are fake. These are real. These are so good. I'm admiring fake transistors at this point in the game. Okay, so let's see what we got here. These are the one that's got the burnt bias resistor. That resistor goes down in tolerance. Yep, and it just dumps a bunch of voltage on the transistors. And then we start getting results like this. Diode short. It takes and dumps a bunch of voltage on the input network, on the input transformer itself. And yeah, diode short, junction short. And we have death. So these are the high dollar fakes. And what I mean by high dollar is they cost about $10 more. This has a gain of 11. Gain of 10. This is a real Toshiba. Gain of 42. That's a good pill. Gain of 54. Holy smokes. That's a really good part. To the cheap Chinese knockoff here. Well, let's test this again. This one is junk. And let's test this one here. This one's got a gain of 44 to it. So, let's retest this one. You didn't get a good stab at it or something. Junk. Okay. So out of the 8, we've got 3 bad parts. Which was to be expected. It's amazing the gain structure difference, isn't it? I mean, like, toast, really low. Of course, these were paired with this guy, so yeah, that's yeah. We sit here and talk about that till the cows come home. Needless to say, not that big of a deal. Let's take the Sharpie and mark these bad, bad, and bad. Okay, let's put this back together with HGs in it and make it work. And that means tomorrow I can get a hold of my customer and give them the good news. Yay. This is the best amp Texas Star's ever built as far as functions. It's not the best amp that they've ever built as far as super reliability, but this does afford you some cool shit. Like, you can take a 30 watt radio and put it in this and you're going to get 1600 watts out. 5.29, 5.31, 5.35, 5.26, close enough. Close enough. The right way to measure this would be to sneak a amp gauge probe underneath each, never mind. We'd sneak an amp gauge probe, a clip over probe on here, or just hook up a inducted amp meter on both sides of each one of these ferrite chokes and measure how much current the device is pulling. Or we can just look at it on a leak side of things. So let's look at our balance resistor here on the output. At 1212, it's not even getting hot. Let's take a picture of it. And let's show it to you. This is our balance resistor right here. See that? Not to be confused with the bias resistor that is behind it, but the balance resistor. Hello, audio 11111. With 30 watts of drive, we're making 600 watts of power. Hello, 11111. Now we're just running it on a straight 8 function, okay? Here's the driver section. Hello, and that is two 2879s getting driven with 30 watts of power. And we're on like 12 volts, 11 volts. Hello, okay. Hello. Now let's put all the stages together. The 2 driving 8. Hello, 1, 2. Okay. Bring that dead key down a little bit. Before we go any further, preamp is working. Okay. We'll let our voltage come up. Hello, audio. This is the radio. Hello. Finals all by themselves are now doing 1,000. And the driver section, hello, almost 400 watts, which is a lot. Which is way, way too much for the 8-pill final section. Hello, hello, 1600, no problem. As hard as we're hitting it, that doesn't surprise me. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Input on this whole mess is good. It's a 5-watt slug in reverse between the amp and the radio. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, that's keyed. Hello, 1, 2. So let's go look at just the driver section. Hello, hello. Let's go look at the final section. Hello, hello. Bring the 2 together. Hello, hello, hello. Everything happy. Okay. So, long story short, once again, we're in 2X here, 1,000 watt slug in 2X. Final section, 200 watts, but that's actually 4. Turn on the final section. Hello, just a hair over 1,000. Put the driver section in line. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but this came with 2290s in it for a reason. That is entirely too much drive. The 400 watts going in here is overdriving the shit out of these. Me personally, want to take the 2879s that are out of here, or in here, and take them out and put 454s in their place. That's a lot of freaking drive, man. That's just man. It's just a lot of drive. See, here's my dilemma. I sell this thing, right? Let's say, okay, I just leave this alone and I sell this thing. And I say, oh yeah, it's good, no problem. Look at all the power it's making, blah, 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 blah. It goes out there in the world, and somebody ends up with this thing, and they end up hitting this with like a 50-watt radio, which murders the final section in this amp. And it's back here within 2 months of me selling it, going, wow, it's all blown up. These things are notorious for being overdriven. And the reason why is because guys buy these with the inclination that they're going to take their striker and hit it, which is fine if you only flip on this one switch. This switch here for the finals. The instant you put the driver in there, you're going to blow some shit up. Never fails government dollar and money every cent of the second. The guy's driving down the road and accidentally hits this button. Hits this button. Click. Fires down on the mic. It makes it for about 2-3 keys. And then the thing blows up. Then some bitch goes, well, I don't know what happened. It's BBI's fault. And then they call me and say, man, I got this amp from you. And I was just talking on it. Man, it didn't make it about 4 or 5 keys and it blew up. And I'm like, okay. Did you watch the YouTube video? Yeah. Well, I watched it. That's why I bought it. I've had this happen a couple times with this exact same series of box. This isn't the amp that you sell to the, hey, I'm just starting out operator. This is the amp that you sell to the guy that's hyper meticulous and pays very close attention to what he's doing. The final stage in this amp is working great. It's the driver's section that got me worried. Now, you can take this knob here and dial it down on the front. But a lot of people, all they seem to want to do is put the thing in 11. So I personally have moral issues, I guess would be the best way to put it, with letting this go like this. Mental and moral and all that funny jazz. I have a hard time because I just know that if I let this go with these other 2 pills in it, they're going to drive the shit out of this thing and they're going to burn it up, and it's going to be back here and I'm going to have to be repairing it. When I get it back here, the driver's going to be fine. This whole final section can be smoked. Kind of like we've seen it before. If I take a pair of 454s and put them in there, which is better than the 2290s they're putting out right now, we ain't going to see no 400 watts out of the driver's section. We're going to see, well, no, I take that back. The last 454 box I built did 400 watts. I bet you will see 300 and some change, if not a little bit less. And it's not gonna, you're not gonna even be able to notice any difference in the output. It's still only gonna do 1600 watts. What time is it? 11:30 at night. I got a super customer coming here tomorrow. And he's gonna take all day. I'll be messing around with his stuff all day tomorrow. I'm gonna put this on pause. I'm gonna put this amp on pause. We've obviously got it working. We don't have it working to where I feel safe selling it though. But it is working. I'm going to step back, I'm going to reevaluate. And for the record, I just went through and I replaced all the 1.8 ohmers. Just time for a change. Yeah, I'm going to put this on pause and I'm going to come back to this here. Let's see, what is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Wednesday. I'm going to come back to this Thursday. Well, we're returning back to the scene of the crime here. This is after we've done all the upgrades to it. Now, what we did do is we got rid of the 2879 drivers. They're gone. They've been replaced with 454s. This is a big deal to me. The last couple of these that I've sold and I left the 2879s in the amp, both of them, what has happened is the guy gets the thing on the other end and his desire, his emotional dream, his goal is whatever, is to run this with a striker. So they press this switch, just the finals. Every single one of them made the same mistake. This is the reason I hate building multi-stage boxes. And I think multi-stage boxes should be just forgotten. It's either one way or it's not. It's either a 2x8 or it's an 8-pill. You put the 2-pill in another driver or in another cabinet. As they forget that they have that final switch hit, and they key that striker a couple times, and it blows the 8-pill section to smithereens. I've seen it over and over and over again. One guy 3 times in a row. Okay, so 400 watts is too much drive for these 8 transistors. There ain't nobody out there in the universe that's going to disagree with me on that. So let's go look at what change into the 454s did to the driver section on this radio, or on this amp. It's the exact same setup we had before. 1000 watt slug here in PEP, 1000 in average, and a 500 watt or 5 watt slug in reverse, going back to the Bird 10,000 watt dummy load. So let's show you radio drive. Let's go over here. Let's get on with it. Radio drive. This is a radio all by itself. 20, 25 watts. The exact same amount of drive we had before. We're going to go and we're going to turn on the driver section. Audio. 225 watts max. Input same, or input is exactly the same. Same. Same and same. Okay. So we've effectually cut the drive in half. Now, if you guys remember, in the last little segment, I said, now, I bet you we could take 200 watts out of the drive, and it ain't going to even show up, make no difference, none at all. It's not going to show up as output power difference at all. Overdriving the transistors that hard actually makes them produce less. But what do I know? Let's go ahead, we'll bring the final section in. Now we're dead keying 1 watt. And the variable on the front of the amp's all the way open. Audio. Okay. Let's go up to 2x. So now what we're looking at is when this needle gets all the way over here to the right, that's 2000 watts. So when it gets to that hash mark right there between the 30 and the 20 and the 30 and the 40 and the 60, that's 1000. So if we can all remember, it was making right at 1600 watts with the 2879 or the 2290 or 2879s driving it, right? Now it's making a little bit more by backing down the drive. We're not going to overdrive the bejesus out of the 8-pill section. It actually picked up power by putting less drive into the 8-pill section. What? What'd you say? What'd you say? Picked up power by putting less drive, at least on the peak side of things, less drive into the 8-pill section. About 500 to 550 Bird and about 1700 watts peak. The other thing we did is we went in here and gave it the full mounting upgrade. We used 4 gauge. Now, is the 4 gauge absolutely necessary? No. No, it looks pretty and it helps it produce a little bit more power and it helps it stay a little bit cooler. So between the power wire upgrades and changing the driver section, we got another 100 watts out of this amp. And it's going to run way cooler. Let me put this all back together. We're going to run it one more time with the front facing towards camera so everybody can understand how to use this thing. Okay. So here we are. We're on the front side of things. Turn the power on. Now there's a switch back here in the back left or back right hand corner. This switch back here either turns the fan on or it leaves it internal. There is a heat activated switch that's internal on this thing. When you flip the switch down, so the switch is up, so that means the fan's on all the time. When you flip the switch down, that means it's internal. This fan will not turn on until the amp gets up to be about 160 degrees, which in my opinion is stupid and silly, and I think the switch should be up all the time. But I digress. The option's there for you guys. At least on this one, there isn't a switch up here that allows you to change the class of operations from AB to, or as they say, AB1, but it's not. Class B to Class C. Now over here on the left-hand side, there's a switch. Down is AM, up is sideband. It's your sideband delays on the back of the amp. Okay, preamp. And then here we've got our choice of what we want the box to do. So right now, amp is in standby. Hello, 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 hello. Okay? The scale over here is in 2x, by the way. Amp is in standby. Hello, 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 hello. Here, let's see if we can zoom in and crop this a little bit better. A little bit better for the viewing pleasure. Turn the gain down just a little bit. Hopefully that's better. Hello. Okay. We press this blue switch. It's labeled driver. Okay? And in your perspective, it's coming across green. In the real world, it's actually a greenish blue. Hello, da, 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 just a hair over 200 watts worth of drive. Okay? Finals. Hello. There's 16 to 1800 watts. Hello, 1. That's with 25 to 35 watts peak drive. Turn the driver off. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Makes about 1200 watts. This amp offers the best of all worlds. It is a low drive box. It is a high drive box. It's variable in the low drive position. Okay? Low drive. That's only when you got the finals in, by the way. The main point behind that variable is that if your dead key is higher than like a watt or two, you can crank this back a little bit and it'll keep you from over dead keying the amplifier. Because as we just shown, 1 watt gets us, you know, with the finals engaged, 250 watt dead key, which is a little bit hot. But this amp is the best of all worlds, right? Low drive, high drive, variable drive, preamp, fan, variable on and off, manual, automatic, and then sideband. And legit sideband, right? Not, it's a Class C box with a relay delay on it. These are a good amp. Once again, they've got to go, it's got to go to somebody that actually's got their wits, their brains, the gray matter between their ear holes has got to be thinking. If you have a striker and you're going to run this with a striker, you'd never, ever, 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 ever depress this button. Ever, ever, ever. Would you ever, never, would you ever depress this button, the driver button? Preamp on, that means it's just operating with the preamp. Amp on, driver, final. If you had a striker, it'd be this switch and this switch. If it was me, I'd take that switch out of there. If you had a striker, just unplug it. Pull the cap out, that way you can never press the switch. Either that or be smart enough to know that that switch never needs to be depressed. Or if you got yourself, let's say like a 148. It's going to be power switch, driver, finals. But your variable will end up being right about there. Just food for thought. Now, remember this has only got 1 fan in it, and it's cooling 10 transistors. The heatsink runs from here to here. They took the Texas Star and they were able to Sweet 16 shrink it by half, and they put a driver on it. I know guys that are having a lot of luck with these, but they're not pushing it to its absolute maximum extreme, trying to get every freaking stinking watt out of it for 4 hours, 5 hours straight key down time. They recognize what it is. So on that note, for this gentleman, I think we're going to put this up for sale for $1,400. I think it's worth it. I'm sure somebody out there will be willing to pay that for it. So the first person that calls me or texts me gets it. It's $1,400 plus the ride. Now, in all clarity and fairness, these transistors, and let me make sure I got the right pile here. These 2 Toshibas and these fake Toshibas are not mine. They are not mine. They belong to the customer. So I have to now make him a reasonable offer for these used parts. Or subtract it from the repair bill / modification bill of this thing in the sale, which I'll work out with the customer down the road. But in all fairness, I'm not taking and pocketing these. I'm not interested in that. That's not the way we work over here. What's mine is mine, and what's the customer's is the customer's until I die. And then eventually, if I died, my wife would probably do everything she could to get everything back to everybody it belongs to. The point is, the transistors, I'm going to make a fair offer to the customer, and if he doesn't want to accept my offer, that's fine. I'm going to take and return the transistors back to the customer. So, gentlemen, Texas Star. Let's see, this is a DX16V with the driver built in stock from factory. It's for sale. Okay, now let's switch gears off of this and let's jump onto the Joker box. I think I'm going to make that a separate video just so everybody's got the organization in their head and I'm not lumping these two together in the same video and I have to field multiple phone calls. We're going to separate the two out. So I'm going to say, gentlemen, thank you very much. Big shout out to Siglent. Big thanks to XS Power for helping us change our game universally across the board with their LTO battery technology, their super cap technology, and their superior lead acid battery technology. When you guys deal with Sean over there at XS, tell him I sent you. Big shout out to Siglent. Big thank you to MechMan. Big thanks to Bird, Coaxial Dynamics. A huge thanks to all my Patreons, right down here. And gentlemen, I thank every single one of you guys for tuning in and following along. Okay, let's go play with the second example of one person's work I've ever seen, a Joker. And I shall return.